Hello students, today I'm giving you a video on why and a bit of what to look for when you're making a sourced argument, in particular when you're doing research for this argument. So the first question here is why use sources? Why might you want to look things up and find evidence to help support what you're saying? And we talked about this a bit at the beginning of the class in our first few assignments, if you'll remember. One of the things that we look for when we're trying to get information from someone else is how credible that person is, how convincing they are, how much we believe them. So one of the reasons why we might use sources is to strengthen our argument in that way, to build credibility and to get the facts and data that we need to convince people. That was another thing that we talked about before. Having hard evidence, having numbers, was something that we found strengthened arguments quite a bit. And as I said already, this helps to build your authority. Because none of us is necessarily a doctor in the field that we're going to be researching and writing our essays on, getting this information helps us to build our authority. It shows people that we've done the research, we know what we're talking about, and we are someone that they should listen to. Another reason to use sources is to show that you are adding to a conversation. Other people have talked about the thing that you want to talk about, probably, and if you do research and you show your sources, that shows your reader that you are not just repeating something that other people have said, but you are adding on to it. You are responding to arguments that other people have made, to claims that they have made. And when you use sources, you also provide a common ground for discussion. You give your audience something that they can look at and go read if they want to catch up to you, and then they see your argument and they can go back and forth, right? Because all of knowledge, all of learning, and any decisions that are made, it's all part of a conversation. It's all people making their claims, showing their evidence, and trying to get other people either to agree with them or at least to move closer to their standpoint. Because we can't always expect, if I make an argument, I can't always expect everyone who is listening to me to believe everything that I say or to do exactly what I want them to do, but I might expect them to come a little bit closer to understanding me or to agreeing with me or making a decision that's closer to what I want. Compromise, right? All right. So now let's talk a little bit about finding sources. As I hopefully am going to prove today, any nut with an internet connection, that's me, can upload crazy stuff to YouTube. So when you are doing research, it's best for you to use a collection of sources that has already been peer-reviewed, that you can find pretty easily. And yes, I am talking about the Towson Library. And we went over in class how you can narrow down your search to things that have been peer-reviewed already and things that are going to show up in sources that are from the last 15 or so years or 10 years, if that's what you're looking for. I can upload another video about using the library search if you want, but this is also something that we went over in class and I can go over with you in our one-on-one meetings. But when you're finding your sources, you always want to start with the basics. That means get some data that's going to help build a base of understanding. So when you're doing this, it's possible that you won't find your exact information on the library. Not everything has been studied in peer-reviewed sources. For instance, here is an example. If I were going to write about esports being added to the Towson Athletics Department, so it was part of Towson's supported athletics department, I might look for this information. And you'll see I might not be able to find the information on all of this on the library website. How many different schools have esports teams? I don't know if that exists in a peer-reviewed journal. How much would this cost the school? Again, I don't know. So I might have to, instead of looking at the library website and looking at peer-reviewed sources, I might have to look at general web searches to find out some of this information that I think that I might need to make my argument. So when I'm doing that, I'm going to look at general web searches and I'm going to apply the CRAP test to them to make sure that they are good sources, that they are current, reliable, and that the authority is there, and that they don't have a bias, or that if they do have a bias, I take that into account when I'm deciding if I use them or not. After we find our basics, then we're going to think about some connections that we might make. And you can see some of these here. If you can find a similar issue or think about a similar issue, then you might be able to find sources like that. If there are any side effects that would come from solving your problem, you might want to look up some sources on that, some information about that, and maybe figure out what other issues contribute to your problem. So here are some examples of connections that I might make in my argument. And this is stuff I think that is more likely for me to find peer-reviewed sources on. A few of these in particular. So if I have numbers already for number of college students or high school students who play esports or play competitive games, then I might be able to compare this to data for traditional sports numbers, because I am pretty sure that that data does exist somewhere. Someone has written something about number of college students who are involved in athletics. I might look at how esports or how video games benefit players. And again, I know that this data exists. People have done studies on video games and their effects on players. And I might compare that to the benefits of playing traditional sports. I might be able to find information on the effects on recruiting and retaining students. Remember, I'm thinking about my audience here. This is something that Towson might care about, is bringing students in and keeping students there, and so on. So this making connections thing, thinking about other issues that might add on to it, stuff like that, this is why you should pick a topic you care about. I can think about this for a long time, and I can think about all the different things that come into this argument and all the different things that I might want to talk about and I might want to research. And because I care about it, I'm going to be interested in the information that I find out and in making my argument. So again, when you're finding sources, you want to start with the basics. You can use general web searches for these. If you do, though, you should apply the CRAP test to make sure that your sources are good. Library sources will be better, but you might not always be able to find the data that you want. So if you can't find it on the library, that's okay. You can use a general web search. And then think about connections. I think you're more likely to be able to find data or library sources for these, and I have my examples here again. Not always the case. You won't necessarily be able to find this information, but if you cast a wide net and think about a lot of different things that you might be able to bring into your argument, it is more likely that you will be able to find some of the things that you want to bring into your argument at the end. All right, so this is a pretty quick overview. The slides for this are going to be posted on Blackboard if you want to review on your own time, but feel free to watch the video again if you can't get enough of my voice. That's cool. And as always, send me an email if you have any questions. I'd be happy to help.